Walk into almost any elementary school art room, and you will see the exact same thing sitting on the drying rack. 24 identical paperclate lions, with the same googly eyes glued in the exact same spot. There is a very practical reason for this. It looks neat. It photographs beautifully for the weekly school newsletter, and it gives parents a clean, uniform result to hang on the refrigerator. But to achieve that uniformity, the teacher has to pre-cut the shapes, pick the colors, and hand out a step-by-step template to make sure nothing goes wrong. The child's entire job shrinks down to following instructions correctly. A flawless product requires stripping away the friction of choice, the hazard of risk, and the necessity of failure. By removing those ingredients, you guarantee a tidy outcome, but you eliminate the exact conditions a child needs to actually learn creativity. The book of Genesis introduces God first and foremost as a maker. The text establishes a creator who shapes raw material, and then immediately declares that humans are designed in that same image. We see exactly what that looks like in the book of Exodus. A craftsman named Bezalel becomes the very first person in the Bible described as being filled with the Spirit of God. That spiritual filling was not granted for preaching a sermon or performing a miracle. It was given specifically for artistic design, metalworking, and woodcarving. The text directly connects human artistic skill with the Spirit of God. When a school trains a classroom that a successful art project means exactly matching the teacher's template, it sends a contradictory message. It quietly instructs those children that bearing the image of God requires rigid compliance rather than genuine creation. Harvard researcher Teresa Amabile spent decades studying the exact conditions that allow creativity to function in the human brain. She found a highly predictable pattern. When people know their work will be evaluated against a rigid external standard of correctness, the quality of their creative output drops significantly, even if their effort stays high. This is a chart showing the relationship between age and creative confidence. Notice the sharp drop right between ages 9 and 12. Art educators call this stage dawning realism. It's the specific window where children become hyper-aware of the gap between what they picture in their heads and what their hands actually produce. Handing these highly self-critical students a pre-cut template accelerates that exact anxiety. It trains them that any visible mistake is a failure to be hidden. By preventing them from navigating errors on a blank page, we manufacture an entire demographic of adults who confidently declare they cannot draw. To reverse this, teachers need to stop managing the final product. Instead, they need to build a firm, protective structure around the process itself. Consider the Creator Hour, a 3-part framework balancing order with freedom. It begins with 10 minutes of direct instruction. The teacher demonstrates one specific technical element, equipping students with actual mechanical tools. Then, the block shifts to 25 minutes of open making. Here, the class receives a single conceptual prompt, like, "Show me what courage looks like." Students explore that idea using whatever basic materials they have. During this phase, the teacher completely stops correcting for visual accuracy. Instead, they walk the room and ask students to explain the reasoning behind the specific artistic choices they are making. The hour closes with a 10-minute reflection circle. Students share their work and answer what they learned about themselves. This repeated, low-stakes practice develops qualitative reasoning, the critical ability to make good decisions when there is no single correct answer. By enforcing strict boundaries around time and technical instruction, the teacher removes the overwhelming fear of a blank page. The rigid structure itself constructs the safety net required for children to take genuine creative risks. Within a few weeks of running this framework, students begin explaining their artistic choices before you even ask. Frequently, the quietest children in the room start producing the most thoughtful work, because a blank page removes the social pressure of providing a wrong answer aloud. You also start to observe a secondary effect. The psychological resilience built during this designated art block begins transferring into completely unrelated academic subjects. A student who learns that a torn shape on a canvas can be painted over and repurposed becomes much quicker to erase and retry a complex math problem rather than just freezing up. This formation scales perfectly regardless of resources. A drying rack classroom using nothing but pencils and scrap paper achieves the exact same psychological development as a fully stocked art studio. A drying rack filled with identical paper crafts will successfully teach a child how to comply. But a wall covered in messy, imperfect, wildly different artwork teaches a child something much deeper. It proves to them that their choices have value, and that mistakes are simply early drafts of getting it right.